But here's one thing that's interesting. Because as we read, it was prophesied that this would happen. And so one of the questions that comes up from this is that if Jesus knew that Judas was going to betray him, did Judas actually have a choice? Is he responsible for what he did? Right? I mean, because the name Judas is now synonymous with traitor and betrayer. Right? You call someone a Judas, and that just has all this just bad stuff packed into it. However, as we know, it was foretold. In Psalm 41:9, it tells of the betrayal of a friend with whom Jesus shared bread. Messianic prophecy there in Psalm 41. And Zechariah 11, it talks about the 30 pieces of silver that would be given. I mean, so the betrayal is described not in prophecies from the Old Testament, and then Jesus himself says, one of you will betray me. And then at the Last Supper, he actually points out who it's going to be. So, does the knowing in advance, this is what some critics will say, is knowing in advance, Judas can't be held responsible because he had no other choice. That if God knew it was going to happen, therefore, it was just destined to happen. Judas was trapped in it. He had no choice in the matter. However, and this is one thing that I think people kind of don't understand about it sometimes, is knowing something doesn't actually have any kind of causal power. Knowing something does not cause something to happen. We do things all the time whenever we know with a very high degree of certainty what the reaction is going to be. I came home one day dressed up in a costume from a cartoon that my kids love. We were getting dressed up. We were going to go to a trunk or treat thing at a couple different churches in the area that did a big trunk or treat, and we just make the rounds. We hit several places, and so I come home already dressed up in costume, but it's one where they can't tell who I am. I'm completely covered. So whenever I walk in the door, it's not Daddy walking in the door, it's this character from this cartoon walking in the door. Now I already knew as soon as I walked in that door, they were going to lose their little minds and go crazy because this character just walked in the door. And they did. Did my knowing it make that happen? No. No, my knowing it didn't make it happen. Whenever I proposed to Molly, right, and if I didn't already know she was going to say yes, I would have asked. Right? That's some of those things you're sure about before you put out that question. Right? But does my knowing it mean that she couldn't have said no? No, the knowledge has no power. Now, our knowledge is based on our experience and information. God's knowledge is based in his omniscience. But in neither case does the knowledge actually have power to make something happen. What if I drop this Bible? What's going to happen? I mean, if I let go of this, what's going to happen? It's going to fall, right? Because that's what happens. Does your knowledge that this is going to fall make it fall? No, what made it fall? Gravity. The force of gravity acting on the Bible is what makes it fall. Your knowledge did not make that happen. In the same way, when it comes to our choices, it is our free will, the force of our will acting on our decision-making that causes the choice. God's knowledge does not make us choose anything. It's our will that is doing the choosing. Therefore, the choice was Judas's. He bears the responsibility for the choice that he made. God did not make him choose that. Just because God knew about it didn't cause it to happen. The cause was his own will in action.